anesthesiologist who's connected with Nityananda Meditation Academy, are going to be giving a talk on neuroscientific approach to mental health, and then a discussion about some lifestyle aspects that support positive mental health and higher consciousness. Then we're going to have another experience of pranayama, like a breathing exercise with Dr. Muktananda. And then he's going to give a lecture called Sustainable Mental Health and AI, talking about how artificial intelligence can support sustainable mental health systems. That'll be followed by Dr. Prema Kotandaraman, who's a urogynecologist at the Women's Health Excellence Center. And she's going to talk about women's mental health issues. Then Dr. Patel, who's a psychiatrist who's representing KAILASA Los Angeles and also practicing in the community, is going to talk about mental health and children's issues. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction globally. So we think it's very perfectly aligned with this summit, and we're extremely grateful to the UN General Assembly for organizing this and for having us here. Just a couple estimates, 2.5 to 5 trillion US dollars annual cost of mental health. That's looking at direct costs of clinical care and hospitalization, as well as indirect costs of lost work. And I'm going to posit that the cost of less than optimal mental health is so much higher in terms of lost potential.
So what we mean by mental health, this definition of mental health is taken straight from the UN mental health webpage. Essentially, mental health is a state of well-being where we are able to cope with life's daily challenges, have great relationships on a daily, regular basis, learn to work well, have a successful career. And one aspect of mental health that is very often neglected is realize our full potential. Of course, all of these are super critical, super important, and we tend to focus on coping with daily challenges and relationships more often than not when it comes to mental health, because that's what happens on a regular basis. But to emphasize that mental health is not just short-term, but it's also long-term. And part of our presentation, and those in poverty are 2.5 times more likely to be affected compared to others. And this really says that mental health needs to start from, needs to address everybody, and it affects the disadvantaged people the most. When we normally think of treating mental health, the traditional approach tends to be a session on how to address the mind-body system. Instead of just controlling thoughts, address beliefs. I think transforming our beliefs from life negative cognitions to life positive cognitions. This is so critical. I'll talk a little more about this in a bit. And finally, that help you unlock your true potential by breaking free from limiting patterns. Let's look at this a little bit more in the next slide. So next slide, please. See, powerful cognitions go beyond positive thinking. They go towards transforming our beliefs. Many of us tend to grow up with very limited view of ourselves, not due to our own faults. It's because the world, imagine in a school, a teacher evaluates students. They only have a single way of evaluating students based on their own rubric. If a student is as capable of, but we are capable of extraordinary things. So a powerful cognition would be something that alters how you see yourself. Like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism said, we are not human beings striving for a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings enjoying a human experience. If you look at yourself that way, as a spiritual being, then you don't think of yourself
equity. Fields of psychology, philosophy, medicine, sociology, of course, mental health is covered very widely through this university. This has been reawakened through our chancellor, who I'm going to talk about in the next slide. And this offers thousands of free programs online to the global community. There's a large, diverse team of faculty, campuses all over the world, and many, many millions of people have benefited from the teachings of Nityananda Hindu University. Goals and Lifestyles for Enlightened Living has revived the sacred arts university that has created 1 million deities for enlightenment ecosystems to use worldwide. And there's more than 16,000
KAILASA ecosystems functioning that provide many services to their members and the communities around them, including Andadan, giving food, growing agriculture, in that it goes beyond the mind. So efforts to powerfully address mental health have started to look at a mind-body system. And we'll be talking about it a little bit later about things like the biome and the physical structures of how the mind and body interact and the brain and body interact. And then we're positing that it also can extend to consciousness, and that how we experience our mental health is going to be a reflection of our mind and our body and our mind for individuals out there who may be watching for the masses that can move towards a space of enhanced mental health. So the first topic we're going to talk about is cellular effects of mind-body intervention. So this was a program called Inner Awakening, again organized by Swamiji and run directly by Swamiji. It involved activities like yoga, meditation, initiations, which we're going to talk about. It means like 2 to 7-fold in reduction of the proteins of the gene products. And then the anti-inflammatory pathways that reduce stress and reduce inflammation were upregulated, again, 2 to 7-fold. And then there were 2 specific pathways that they noted. One is an anti-aging pathway called GATA2 and BM1 that was upregulated, which shows up in a follow-up study. So basically, gene expression change means the DNA may be, or may or may not be, but even if it's the same, the way the genes are being expressed is changing remarkably to tamp down inflammation and to support anti-aging. So you should be less stressed and more young, right? That's what we'd expect. About a quarter of them, almost a third, were triple. So a huge increase in telomerase activity, which we would expect to keep them young at a cellular level, at the genetic level. And then their stem cells were increased in 90% of participants. Stem cells are used as the raw material for replacing damaged cells and structures in the body. So if you have an injury or just the natural aging, stem cells are used to replenish with fresh cells. And so an increase in that is going to mean more use at a cellular level. The last thing they did, this was not published in that art online, but again, it's completely organized and run and attended by our Swamiji, and done through teleconferencing, just much like how this meeting is going right now. So we looked at 4 different scales associated with mental health. One is the DASS, which stands for Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale. For the depression score, anything above 10 means depression. 5.7 is the average. For this, the post scores were 2, 2.7, so much lower than average and very far from depression. So this is going to show up as a really great state of well-being. And then we looked at anxiety. Above 8 is considered as an anxious person. The average in the US is around 6, so almost anxious. 5, well-being index. So this goes from 0 to 100, where a higher score is a higher sense of well-being. Less than 50 is going to correlate with depression. And for example, one population we looked at in research was women in infertility. The score is about 53. In many, it'll going up for just about everyone. And then social functioning is going up for just about everyone. So again, increased mental and physical health was seen. And the last one is mindfulness. This looks at the ability to be present, the gene expression, and then these changes in mental health. So to better understand that, a lot of science has been done with Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramahansa. So I'm going to talk about a few scientific studies. First, they found complete control over brainwave activity. He could just control his brainwaves at will. There was another doctor, a neuroscientist named Acosta Urquida from Sound Health Designs in Wichita, and this was in 2005 and 2006. And they measured studied a variable called heart rate variability, which shows variability within the heart rate that reflects the autonomic system and how at ease someone is. You could say it's very complex. We don't have time to go into it further. But the key finding is when he could completely kind of shut off the mind, and it would show up at the EEG level. That shocked the researcher. And then when he would go into meditation, there would be a huge surge in gamma waves, which we'll talk about shortly, the significance of gamma waves. But the key part is when he was healing, that's a goal of Vedic traditions, yogic traditions, Hinduism, and they transmit it to someone they're healing or a disciple or any other person, be like an initiation. It's putting them in the same brainwave state that's going to have profound effects on their well-being. He is doing initiations to his disciples or people visiting his ashram as well, he puts their brain in gamma waves, high amplitude gamma waves, which is a very specific kind of gamma wave that's almost never seen. So real quick primer on brain waves. Brain waves is the measurement of the electrical activity in the brain through an EEG, which is like an EKG for the brain, electroencephalogram. You can see them on a normal EEG. They were normally detected with something called a QEEG, where you take a computer and look at the raw data and see tiny little, very, very low amplitude up and down high frequency waves that you can't really see with your naked eye, but the computer can calculate them. And they've been shown traditionally in everyone's brain a little bit. When people have a stroke of insight, like the light bulb goes off, there'll be a little flash of gamma activity, but just for a second, and only when that insight strikes, which you can't bank on, right? It's like, can also be created through spiritual activities and mind-body interventions. The last group I'll talk about is long-term meditators. These were Tibetan Buddhists that have been meditating for 10 to 20 years, like their whole lifestyle was meditation. Like monks that would meditate for 6 hours a day, or, you know, a huge amount of meditation. This came out in 2004 by Dr. Davidson in Wisconsin, a really breakthrough publication. When they're developing this capacity, which means this level, which we're positing as a space of super consciousness, very high level of consciousness that correlates with concepts of enlightenment that have been talked about throughout history. This level, this capacity can be built in people and built in large groups of people over time. So this is raw data of yogic shaktis that are beyond the scope of this presentation. But while doing these things, they'll describe a very low TPS, which again, TPS is thoughts per second, means completely quiet mind. And their whole sense of space will be just completely spacious and untouched. So we're really excited about this. I think it has tremendous significance for humanity on many levels. And we're excited to research it further. So we'll be connection to higher consciousness, yoga pada, yoga and pranayamas, and meditations and kriyas. We'll be doing all of these experiential in this presentation. And then knowing, pursuit of powerful cognitions means knowing yourself as a very powerful, connected being that is worthy of having this life experience and can express this life experience. And one thing that I think...
Let's watch this video briefly. Go ahead, please flip.
Thinking process in you. That's it. Do not create, sustain, maintain, fight with, try to destroy. Anyway, engage. You will sit with yourself in a very matured way. Highly matured way. Sit with yourself with highest maturity.
Yeah, one thing I want to say, we're going to give you a few minutes just to go through this unclutching. It's a great experience. I think it's really worth seeing that how simple a process can really bring your stress levels down. So I would really advise you to Peter, we're not able to hear the music.
It's playing here. It's just flute-like. You hear that?
Do you want to share?
You able to hear it?
No.
You able to hear it now?
Yes.
Awesome. One of the things that you would have noticed is while you're unclutching is your mind gets disengaged. As your mind gets disengaged from thoughts, we tend to listen to the outside sounds more clearly, like bell chiming or people talking, cars going by. That's a positive sign. But understand that even those are thoughts. And next time you try this, unclutch from those also. And when you start unclutching from those thoughts, you will start listening to more of your inner sound, like your breathing.
So next slide. Plays a very important role in regulating mood and cognition, not only through activity of certain brain structures. And Dr. Pandav will be talking about the role of the gut-brain axis. So it turns out not only the brain is important, but the gut, in a sense, is the second brain. It has a very extensive nervous system called the enteric nervous system. And there's a communication between the brain and the digestive system, which is two-way, which is really important in mental health. And it turns out lifestyle or loss of brain cells in important areas of the brain, areas which regulate memory, learning, and emotion, like the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, which is really important for attention, planning, judgment, impulse control, the orbital cortex, which is important in regulating our emotions. And it's not only about us, but it's how we bond with other people, how we interact with others. So initially, we thought that brain cells, we have a limited number of brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating brain cells in yoga practitioners. Very interestingly, there's an area of the brain called amygdala, and this is involved in processing fear pathways. This is sometimes called it's a part of anterior cingulate striatum. These are also involved in emotional processing, some of these areas. Very interestingly, the prefrontal cortex is more active in practitioners of meditation. And one thing that happens when the prefrontal cortex is activated is an important brain chemical called glutamate is released. And this then sends a signal to another part of the brain called the hypothalamus to release beta endorphins. Maybe you've heard about endorphins. These are chemicals which give us the sense of a euphoria or bliss, and may explain why many practitioners of meditation experience a sense of bliss during their meditation. All promising effects and protective effects. Also, other studies have been done looking at the brain chemicals, which are important in regulating our emotion and mood. At baseline, meditators have a higher level of serotonin, which you may have heard about. Serotonin is the brain chemical after, and looked at a brain chemical called GABA, which is very important for regulating our mood and reducing anxiety. And they showed there was a significant improvement in the amount of anxiety and depression that they were experiencing before and after, to the point that many were no longer depressed.
For the input, basically the gut-brain axis is a very important axis. You know, these days there's a buzzword, healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. So basically the brain is connected to the gut by a vagus nerve. So what it means is what happens in the gut affects what happens in the brain. So the next, using the anxiety and depression. So this is one impact. And the second impact it does is that it improves the bowel movements. So basically what it does is, since it is high in fiber, so people get relief from constipation. And so there is less of inflammation in the gut lining. So it reduces all the inflammatory bowel diseases and as well as the autoimmune diseases. So in nutshell, basically the healthy microbiome, the video.
We're waiting for you to quickly go over this slide.
Okay, yeah, so inflammation is higher in some people with depression. Whole food plant-based diet reduces inflammation, antioxidants, phytochemical, and promotes a balanced neurotransmitter system. Elimination of animal foods reduce inflammation, carcinogens, as I was telling you. People who ate raw fruits and vegetables versus cooked or canned fruits and vegetables had significantly improved mood. And as I talked about, processed and packaged food are harmful.
And die, that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small reason. Your husband late from the office for 5 minutes is enough to make him as a late husband.
Summary, we've seen that the brain physiology through functioning, structure, chemistry, and gut health are crucial for mental health. And lifestyle changes are critical and sustainable. And objective information now is available showing that yoga and meditation actually expands parts of the brain which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also had an impact in our mental well-being. And so maybe if we'd like to go ahead with that.
Sure. I always practice whole food plant-based diet to a deep level, in the sense that you're not doing meditation, it is kind of happening to you. So it's a different state to be in. And I found this to be amazingly powerful technique. I think, Dr. Shanti, you may have also
Quieter. People around me noticed. I mean, even your skin will start to glow. You will even appear younger. People would comment on that, wonder what I was doing. And so I definitely also experienced those similar kinds of benefits,
when I was doing it, I felt like saying, darn it, I should.
After that, it's completely gone. I don't take any antihistamines. I'm completely, and after that I did 2 times of Rahara. Even with the first time, it disappeared. I thought this is, it's being a doctor and being an anesthesiologist using all the time antihistamines on patients. And
because we are running out of time, I'm going to go through this very briefly. But what Dr. Aranke and others like Dr. Pandav, all of them discussed, is that it's a simple change in lifestyle can lead to an amazing improvement in mental health, in physical and mental health. And part of changing lifestyle is not only practicing yoga, and unfortunately, we're not going to be practicing any of the yoga asanas today because it's difficult to demonstrate in this particular venue. But we can try a couple of pranayama techniques that can work for you. And these are simple techniques. And roll your tongue and just put it outside of your mouth just a little bit so that your tongue is sticking out like this. And then deeply inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose, right? Like this. So inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose. You will see that this instantly, you will feel that the feeling of coolness in your chest. How many of you feel that deep cooling happening in your chest? You actually feel it there, right there. It's such an instantaneous. It works instantaneously, and you also see your mind is calmed down. Of 10, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Close your left nostril and breathe out through your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Let's move on to the last technique. The last technique is called Brahmari Pranayama. It's an amazing technique to clear your mind of. Soon you will see that the hum is one continuous hum. You hardly notice the difference between one hum and the next, and you will start feeling in the center of your forehead. You will start feeling a constant buzz. And that buzz will start clearing out all the thoughts in your mind. right? It's a very beautiful technique that just flushes negative thoughts and anxiety from your head and just fills it with the hum that is pure thought, nothing else, right? Let's try doing this for a few times. Now, while you're doing this, for a more intense hum, you can actually close your ears also. Like put your fingers on your earlobes and close them, and that will intensify the hum because the sound hums inside your head, and very soon this humming is a very intense exercise. Great. So these are things you can practice pretty much anywhere. And these are all revived by Swamiji. Swamiji has taken all these ancient techniques and then put them in modern contexts. In fact, search for these techniques along with Swamiji's name. You will see a whole bunch of what are called kriya. And most recently, I've applied AI to education. And AI is an amazing area which is useful in mental health. Next slide. And the key challenge here is scale. Like sustainable mental health requires scale, and millions need help with anxiety, loneliness, and depression. But the primary challenge is lack of access to resources. Having access to free spiritual AI solutions online is actually a great way for us to give mental health access to people. Let's go to the next slide. Today's AI is actually super powerful. It can be very conversational in asking questions and getting answers, and it can be very personal. Nityananda KAILASA has developed as a scalable solution for people to ask questions and get answers. It's very easy. Go to nityananda.ai, or you can use the barcode that's video. For example, I'm asking the question, how my wife will feel, what do I do about it? This AI makes use of the, if you can pause the video here, Peter, just for a second. It uses the core principles that Swamiji is taught in terms of what spiritual principles are, from that wholeness perspective. You can actually handle the situation in a much better way. So it's a very powerful message that it helps you understand that you are a whole and you can't divide yourself into different personalities. About facing stress and suggesting yoga and meditation techniques. If you can fast forward this, maybe 10 more seconds. Yeah, so the next example is about, oops, we went too far. Yeah, this next section is about asking for yoga and
mental health issues, incident causes, solutions, and understanding the unique challenges and holistic approaches. The National Institute of Mental Health here shows the incident of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health issue every year. Women are diagnosed with anxiety and depression twice as men. 25.7 stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual assault, and emotional abuse. Social pressures and roles, women often face societal expectations to fulfill multiple roles like caregiver, professional, and homemaker. And body image issues like living in the era seeking help but failed outcome. The treatment methods are making people dependent on medication, and more medication, it becomes a vicious cycle. So when we look at the modern day approaches for treatment, it can be varying from psychotherapy to hospitalization, depending on the severity of the mental illness. Actually, it's only the symptom relief. The $1 trillion brain drain that's not sufficiently addressing the mental disorders. And the other treatments like brain stimulation can be used in special situations where transcranial magnetic stimulation can be used for depression. Sometimes hospitalization when women become treatments are not that effective. Let's learn from KAILASA a holistic approach with proven results by empowering women. So when we go into the depth of the empowering methods before, so let's read this very powerful verses from Manuvati Dharmashastra. Manuvati Dharmashastra and Swamiji making a foundation in KAILASA, bringing the ancient Hindu wisdom, reviving the ancient Hindu wisdom and creating a KAILASA with various projects empowering women. Let's look at details about each level, how this empowering happening under KAILASA. These policies are mapped to the Manuvati Dharmashastra, and Swamiji revived matrilineal society to empower women here. So the political empowerment, Paramashiva declares in Atharva Veda, women should take part. Core indigenous cultural aspect of Hinduism is being revived as part of KAILASA by Swamiji is the mother worship. The matrilineal society that used to exist in ancient Hindu nations. It's very important to know in KAILASA, women are worshipped and revered and have a secure sexual harassment-free ecosystem due to its zero tolerance policy against sexual harassment and exploitation. And it creates the most safest environment for women on planet Earth. At social prominence, Swamiji has worked tirelessly for gender equality, not to find employment. KAILASA's Ankita program is an educational program. So it's mostly educate female child and women to empower them. And Nityananda's Women Foundation, it helped indigenous women to become again financially, to get financial freedom and emotional support.
Energy can be given the word. Only feminine energy can be given the word, given the title sacred, because when it is awakened, it does so much in you. Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over to women, it would have been completely family-based civilization. So naturally, everybody would have had their basic needs.
So in summary on women's mental health, yes, women do face unique challenges. It's to be approached at multi-dimensional level. And KAILASA is a model infrastructure, not only empowering women at all levels and bringing the best within them, like leadership, stability, powerfulness, and divinity. And from my personal empowerment of women, we do like get powerful life, whatever you are, like wherever you are, to lead a very powerful, healthy life. So for all women, mothers, homemakers, anyone, everyone, get empowered with KAILASA ecosystem created by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Paramahamsa Nityananda. And it's a great coincidence that Navaratri festival is coming. It's an annual Hindu festival. We celebrate Divine Mother energy for 9. Thank you.
Listen, anger, fear, guilt, powerlessness, what all is getting blood and making you completely complete and making you manifest powerful cognitions and powers. Till I appear in the mirror, continue completion. And I tell you, I will really appear in the mirror and make you complete and make you manifest powers. When I say, I mean, pen down all of that. Whatever patterns tells you, you need to be internally, externally dependent on something else other than Paramashiva. Pen down. Pen down. Sit in front of mirror and start completing all those
fact sheets from World Health Organization will quickly go over. 1 in 7 10 to a 19-year-old experience mental disorders. And another alarming number is 13% of this is a global burden of disease in this age group. And suicide is the 4th leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. And 296 million people globally deaths were attributed to drug use. Can we have next slide? So here are some of the unique challenges for children, which includes physical, and be creative and not force children into strict curriculum, and nor evaluate them based on narrow rubrics. This mind-body consciousness-based education empowers children and helps them feel powerful. It encourages students to travel, discover, invent their own methodologies, and take leadership roles in early life. Can we have next slide? So in next few slides, I have summarized some of the case studies done on students at Nityananda Gurukul, where Hindu education system is integrated with conventional, all the images are previously drawn without seeing them. The recall phase reflects students' visual recall intelligence. And the tests were performed on 75 students, and the results showed an average percentile rank of 95.7 for copy phase and 89.91 for recall phase. 83% of students were 1 to 6 years ahead of actual age, and 53% students were 2 to 6 years ahead. So that's really impressive numbers. So this is small studies, of course.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patel. And I'm going to very quickly do our conclusion. Thank you so much to everyone who's made it all the way through. After the conclusion, we're going to have a kriya, which we invite people to stay. It's a relaxation and stress reduction kriya. If you have to go on for any other UN sessions or anything else, Science Summit sessions or anything else, you're free to go, but we'd invite everyone else. Peter Bloomfield, my email, and Sri Mukta Ananda, his email as well. They're both posted at the bottom. Also, policymakers for children's mental health, we invite you to contact us for collaboration for how to incorporate this approach to traditional education and for further research. And then, of course, the Paramashivoham program is a program that I referred to that showed profound positive effects on mental health, reduction in depression, anxiety.
Shared 108 kriyas for a variety of diseases and disorders to alleviate, use in conjunction with other approaches. And this video will introduce the kriyas and what do they mean and why they are so powerful. And after that, I'll walk you through a very simple kriya for stress relief. But let's start with this one. Please play.
Productive circuit, and energy circuit. Of these circuits, the energy circuit is governed by the Kundalini energy. Though not spoken much by the medical science, but elaborate references have been given for Kundalini energy in the Vedic tradition. The Kundalini energy is the innate, immense potential energy in impedance to energy in our body. Energy in our body is like the water in the water tank. Kriyas are powerful tools which help
to that circuit. See, putting your body in certain asana makes the circuit blockage free. the circuit becomes perfect. But only through the kumbhaka, the energy gets pumped into the circuit. This is exactly the principle. If you take, it may take 10 years for you to cure the disease. But mixed properly in certain combination, it removes the disease in 2 days, in one dosage.
The kriyas help to restore.
It's called mantra. Externally, when you listen, it's called chanting. So, mantra, internal verbalization. Fifth, chanting, external, the sound you are hearing. And sixth, now I am adding karanas, the different Shivadandava karanas. Seventh, I am adding the lead
Stress. Hypertension essentially is a high blood pressure which happens because of stress, right? So this kriya has simple 3 steps. It actually builds on top of what we did before, right? We learned how to do Nadi Shodhana, which is breathe in through one nostril, breathe out through the other nostril, breathe in through that nostril and breathe out. So that the humming is something I already shared with you before. And the third step is lie down, and in the bliss of the hum, the humming creates intense humming in your body. It creates an elevated feeling. Just lie down with that feeling and unclutch from everything. So lying down and unclutching. And typically this combination of these 3, doing this before you go to sleep, is very, very powerful. It will de-stress your entire body very beautifully. Okay, let's start with Nadi Shodhana. If Peter, you could play the music, with your thumb, close your right nostril, start breathing in. Then close your left nostril. When you unclutch from your thoughts, you will start focusing more on the music and the sound outside of you. Unclutch from that also. When you unclutch from that, you will start hearing your own body sound. It's very powerful not only in de-stressing, but also in performing to your life's best. Great. Thank you all. I really appreciate all of you for coming. Peter, I hand it over to you to wrap up.
Yes, thank you so much, Mukta, for your beautiful job, and thank you to everyone who made it this long. We really appreciate you coming. And again, just a last invitation for people to join the Padma Home program or contact us at Nityananda Hindu University about research collaborations, funding collaborations, anything that you want to collaborate with. And we really believe that